What's up guys, Mitchell Watts with Town & Country TV, and today's going to be a fun little video. But before we start the video, I do need to let you know we are giving away a brand new 4-door full-size Bronco, and we're going to launch that giveaway the day that we hit 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and click on that subscribe button and make sure to hit that bell notification so you don't miss other epic content from the Bronco Super Celebration West, which is in Buena Vista, which is where we are right now. And today we're going to talk all about recovery. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Greg Nicholas. I actually happen to be the program director for Bronco Offroadeo, and I actually have been in the off-road industry really for about 25 plus years on a professional scale and 30 plus years overall.
Wow. So you see, we found the expert. You know, yesterday we had the expert with Shelby for the driving and scaring the absolute crap out of me. And today he's going to help us when we run into some situations, some recovery. And so this is going to be a good video for those of you guys that are that are brand new to off-roading, but I would also argue that we can probably share some ideas and some thoughts with some pros. Is that right?
That we can.
Okay, well, good. Well, before we go any further there as well, I do need to let you guys know, if you've not gone to the Bronco Offroadeo, I can truly say I spent my entire childhood off-roading. You know, we live in Alabama, so it's like mud and ruts, but I truly have not seen an experience quite like Bronco Offroadeo. I've been a Ford dealer for 21 years now, and this is the best event I have ever seen Ford put on. And you've never heard me say that before because it is actually true at this point. So I know that you had a lot to do with the design of that program. So very, very well done. Hats off to you.
Well, thank you. We really do appreciate that. It is such a great program to be associated with, and it's such a great resource for Bronco owners, right? Yeah. So even if you haven't taken possession of your new Bronco yet, as long as you have a reservation, you're a reservation holder, you can attend Bronco Offroadeo. We'd love to see you there.
That's the huge thing. You can attend before you get your Bronco.
You can.
So you need to go ahead and register right now. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the actual essentials. Let's talk about some of the gear, what some of the gear does. So if you had to leave and go off-roading with only one piece of recovery item, what is it?
One piece of recovery item. Honestly, that one piece of recovery item, it would be a shovel.
Really?
Quite honestly, it would be a shovel. Now that is going to let me qualify that a little bit.
Okay.
Some of that is going to depend upon where I am in the world,
okay,
right? But overall, if I had to just pick one, a shovel is actually going to be probably one of the most useful pieces of kit or equipment that you can have out there with you, right? Maybe if you're high-centered and you're in a soft environment, you could dig out from underneath the vehicle, right? At that point, you can then possibly start to, maybe chalk a little bit to get some more, get some material up underneath the wheels. There's all kinds of things that you can actually do with a shovel that you just can't really do with anything else.
Wow. So I bought some stuff thinking that I would buy the stuff that he would recommend in this video, and I didn't bring a shovel. So
it's quite all right.
I'm learning stuff too with you guys. So that is awesome. Okay, yeah. So what is, we don't have a shovel for you guys to show you, so we're just going to put it right there on the screen for you. What is the second item that you would not leave home without?
Moving on from there, then I'd be looking at a good quality recovery strap.
Okay.
All right, and realizing that there is a difference between a recovery strap and a tow strap. Right, and just briefly, so those two primary differences would be is that a tow strap, right, is really designed to tow something statically on road. Right, your vehicle has for whatever reason is immobile, and you actually have to, There you go.
Is that a tow strap or is that a recovery strap?
So this is actually going to be a little bit more on the recovery side of things here, right?
Okay.
So kind of based on this, and we'll talk a little bit more about this one in a second. A true tow strap, again, generally speaking, has metal eyes. Right, it has a metal hook on the end, and actually has no give to it. It doesn't. There's no stretch to it. So again, it's really designed for no load, very little resistance, as you're going along.
Okay.
So great for towing, but not for recovery.
I see.
The recovery strap, the benefit to this, right, is it's actually going to have. It's considered to be a dynamic strap, right? It has some stretch into it. So then that way, if we need to actually use a little bit of enthusiasm, right, between vehicles to extract one vehicle out of the muck, right?
Yep.
Then we actually, as that strap stretches, the strap then actually absorbs all of that load, right? So it's much easier on the vehicle itself, actually. And then also, it's going to build up a little bit of that kinetic energy in there.
Okay.
So now, as it rebounds, right, it can actually allow maybe a smaller vehicle to help recover a larger vehicle.
I see.
Right. So this is, this is one strap that we could use. There's all kinds of straps,
Okay.
that we could look at. So this particular strap that we have here, now this is more of a kinetic energy rope, right? So that's kind of the acronym is KERR, right?
Okay.
So a kinetic energy recovery rope. Now these are going to have a lot more stretch built into them, right? So phenomenal actually piece of kit, right? They actually work incredibly well. They are incredibly dynamic, and this is something that you really, not to be overly dramatic with it, but you do want to be careful, right? As you use all the recovery items, all the recovery tools, but this one actually introduces a lot more load, right? Into the equation. So there's more
stretch?
exactly because of the stretch. So there's just more forces at play with a rope like this versus even just that dynamic strap that we just talked about.
Okay. So we've got these straps, and assuming you've got like one Bronco here, you got another Bronco here, or whatever the vehicle is, how do you connect these two? Because I see you've got these big, these eyelets or openings. How would you connect the two? What would you recommend?
It's a great question. So let's look at, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this. So first thing, as we get into any recovery, process, the first thing you want to do is just assess what's happening.
Okay.
Right? Just take your time. You don't want to rush into it, right? Because if we just suddenly just run right into the situation, we might just make matters worse, right?
Yep.
So just take your time, look at it, assess what's happening, right? What's really going on here? What do I really need to do next, right?
Okay.
So that's really going to be the first thing. Second thing is you want to have a good pair of gloves. Right? So a good pair of leather gloves, even though again, we're going to be working with softer ropes, maybe a synthetic, winch line or even a recovery strap, but you still get burrs, you still get rocks, right? Anything into there. So you friction, right? So you just want to make sure that you have something to help protect your hands, while you're out there. So then next is where do we want to actually, what are we going to hook to? Where are we going to hook our shackles and our recovery straps? So with the Bronco, in this particular Bronco, we have two recovery straps here on the back. Or pardon me, two recovery points here on the back. So two hard points, right? So these are designed to actually absorb, right? The forces that we're going to introduce into this recovery, with this recovery, because we could be talking thousands upon thousands of pounds, right, of force that is going to be introduced into this recovery. So we simply don't want to just take, a strap, wrap it around the bumper itself, right? Or, more importantly, because I've seen this one quite a bit, is you don't want to just hook it to a tow ball, right, and just say, go, we got this. That is not, that's not designed, right, to take that kind of load. So we were looking for these factory mounted or these hard mounted points here, right, to use. So this is more of a bow shackle, right? So a hard shackle. So you can see, and again, these are probably been used for years in the in the off-road community. They're quality. They're good. Again, just like with the straps, you want to find a shackle that is going to be rated for the weight of the vehicles that you're going to be working with, and again for the anticipated loads that you think you're going to be putting into this. I mean, so this particular shackle is rated for 4 3/4 tons, right? So somebody who's good with math, give me that number. We're looking at.
Don't look at me.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm from Alabama.
So we're looking at quite a bit there. And it's really kind of the working load limit, that we have on there. So these are the things that you want to kind of look for. So when you talk about a working load limit, you really want a limit of 2 to 1. So what that really means, a piece of equipment like this will actually have an anticipated braking strength. All right. What that number is going to differ from manufacturer to manufacturer. So when you start looking at a working load limit of that 2 to 1, so let's just say for the sake of conversation that that the braking point strength on this is 12,000 pounds. So you're looking at a working load limit of 6,000 pounds, right? So you're just introducing that safety factor into it, so you're always working within the limits of the gear that you have at your disposal. There's a lot of math that goes into with recovery, and it's good to familiarize yourself with the principles that go behind it. And we can talk maybe a little bit more about this as we go on. But it's harder to actually pull a vehicle. There's more drag, there's more resistance pulling a vehicle up a sandy slope than there is on a flat, icy road, or maybe even the same degree of slope, right, on an icy slope versus a sandy slope with the same degree. So it's understanding where is that resistance and the math that goes along with that. Now the reality though is that you may not always have the ability to sit there and go, all right, so now my gross vehicle weight is going to be this, and to sit there and go through all the numbers, right? So it's knowing your gear, it's knowing what that load is, it's knowing and listening to the equipment as you use it, and just being safe all the way around. Going, you know what? No, that's just not working well. That strap isn't safe. It's got a little cut in, it's got a tear in it. It's just, we've already compromised it. Let's look at something else, right? So little tangent there. Thank you for
No,
that.
that's awesome.
So that's what we have with with the bow shackle. What we also have, and this is something that's becoming a bit more standard and popular within the industry, are soft shackles. Synthetic material, and again, there's, depending upon the manufacturer, there's different different materials, different brands that are out there, right? But again, bottom line is that these tend to be stronger actually than their metal counterparts, right? So there's greater strength to these. The other thing with this is that, let's just say if something were to fail, right, in that rigging, okay, which would you rather have flying through the air, right? This or this, right? So there is an element of safety that these introduce. But again, just there's always pros and cons for everything, right? So again, you just, as you get into recovery, get to know your equipment, do some research, and buy quality products. This is, the old adage, you pay, you get what you pay for. It definitely applies to recovery gear. Let's go back to the hard shackles for just a second. So we had asked, what are we going to, how are we going to do this? How are we going to rig this? So we happen to have here a 30-foot recovery strap, right? And again, this is a dynamic strap, so there is going to be some stretch, that is going to be built into this, strap inherently. Okay. So let's use a soft shackle on one end, and we'll use a hard shackle on the other end. Okay. So now, with this particular type of recovery point, we know that this particular hard shackle is going to fit, right? And it's going to work nicely. So we're just going to bring this in through our eye, in, and we're going to run that down. Now I'm going to run it all the way down to where it's tight, and then I'm going to back it off at least a full turn. And the reason being, if we don't, as we start to apply load to this, you can actually cinch that pin to the point where you really can't release it without tools, right?
Wow.
And in the middle of nowhere, sometimes that really may not be accessible.
I would have never thought about that had you not mentioned that.
There you go. Right. That's why we're here.
That's awesome. Okay, so that's how we got the hard shackle.
That's the hard shackle.
Now let's see this soft shackle in action.
All right, so now the soft shackle action. So now we're going to come here to this end of the Bronco. So now this is what's interesting with Bronco. So with the recovery point on Bronco, again, it is built in. It's part of the frame. It's been rated. It is designed for recovery. What's interesting with it is its position. And so with a hard shackle on the rear recovery point, what we've learned, right, is with the hard shackle, it wants to rotate around and can actually make contact with the stock bumper. So this is actually where the soft shackle is actually a bit more applicable, right, to the rear recovery points of the Bronco.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. So again, same thing. Shackle, eye, through the eye, through, and just cinch it down. All right. There we go. So we have our recovery point here, and we're looking pretty good.
It's almost too easy.
It's almost too easy.
And I see. Okay, so I think that's the perfect way to shackle one up. And one thing I want to step back. What you had mentioned, what would you rather have flying through the air if something were to happen? That soft shackle, I can see why so many people are starting to flock to that setup. Yeah. And it's a lot lighter too. I mean, if you're worried about the payload that you've got in the vehicle, I'm assuming the soft shackle is obviously the better choice as well.
It is. When you start looking at soft shackles, and start talking about synthetic winch cables, I mean, you can literally be talking about saving 100 pounds, if not more, on the vehicle itself.
Absolutely.
With all the recovery gear and
that
kit.
Is awesome. So what else have you got for us? And I'm sorry I'm not talking much.
That's quite all right.
I'm just learning a lot as well, and I just don't want to stop the professional. So what else have you got for us?
Well, so let's come back to safety here for just a second. Right?
Okay.
So with the strap that's on the ground here now, even though this is a static environment, right? So we're not really momentumly challenged, right? While we're here, so we're just having this conversation. But we want to treat this strap as if it was actually under load. Okay. So what I mean by that is we don't want to step over it. All right, because again, if we just get into that habit and get lazy and just start stepping over the strap, even in this environment, when we're actually out there in the wild, right, and doing this for real, then we actually really set ourselves up for a bad situation, right? Yeah. If we're standing over that strap and those vehicles suddenly move and we apply tension to this strap and we're straddling it, I don't think I need to say much more.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
So that's the last place we want to be is straddling that strap. So again, just always treat it as if it was a live situation.
Okay.
Right? So that's what we're looking for there.
Okay. So let me ask you this. If you were, pretending that this is a real situation, and if something were to fail with this current setup, is there any way to possibly reduce, a cable flying through? What would you recommend as far as safety is concerned? Even though you're confident in this setup, what do you do for safety during that recovery process?
It's a great question, actually. So there's several steps to that. So first of all, let's kind of just look at how the strap is at the moment, right? So there's a lot of slack, in here. So again, if we were going to be using this Bronco here to our right, okay, and recovering this Bronco, the first step, our first course of action is let's take this slack out. Okay, so let's just try a nice gentle tug to begin with, and let's just see what that's going to do for us.
Okay.
Right? So, we don't need to back, all the way up and just go for it on the first run. Just give it a nice, easy little tug, right? So what we'd want to be doing at that point is we'd have a driver here. We'd have a driver up in this Bronco. So as this vehicle, as we take that slack out, right, we put that tension into the system, this driver would be in reverse, off the brake, possibly on a throttle, maybe not, depending upon the situation, and we just simply attempt to drive away. We see what we get. If that doesn't work, then we start backing up just a little bit to introduce a little bit of slack, and then introduce a little bit of enthusiasm at that point, right?
I love that word.
To see how much momentum we really need to extract the vehicle.
Okay.
Right? So that's the big thing there. Where would we be standing?
Right next to it, or you said
Exactly.
straddled over it, right?
So,
I'm sorry.
at approximately 2 demerits. Right? So that's we wouldn't be standing here, right? So it's you can never predict when or where a piece of kit will possibly fail. So we're just trying to look for those safety zones, right? So over that way, right? So that way if it fails over here, it's not going to reach that far. Right? So we're kind of out of the way. We're off to the side a little bit. We're out of that arc, right, of where that strap might possibly go. Same thing, maybe back over this side. If it were to fail on this end, where's it going to go? Right off. So again, just out of that arc of where that strap could possibly go. Okay. Be it off to the side, up and over, whatever the case is.
Okay.
Right.
Good information.
We would do the same thing with the KERR.
Okay.
Right. So if the KERR was the only thing that we had, then again at this point you would rig it the same way. Again, odds are we'd want to just go as easy as we could the first time, see what we would get. And then really where the KERR has its benefit is that if we're really, really, mired in, that's where the KERR excels. Right. But again, it is something that you don't want to take lightly. It's something that you really want to practice with a little bit, get some experience, get some education on. Right. There's a lot of good programs, Bronco Offroadeo, that actually talk about a lot of these recovery tips and kit to where you can actually get a little bit more experience. Right. And information on how to use these, these pieces of equipment.
Now I've seen some good old boys in Alabama actually they'll have a setup just like this. Everything might be right, and I'll see them drape something over the toe strap. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, perfect. So thank you for that. So as we kind of take that slack out, then we can actually you can put a blanket, you can put another recovery strap, right? A lot of different things, floor mats, sleeping bags, anything that you have to help kind of drape down over that strap. So that way, if it does fail, it won't prevent it from failing, but it will help deaden it, right, as it releases. So it helps to kind of just flatten it out a little bit.
Instead of coming straight for your head.
Exactly, instead of coming straight for your head.
Well, guys, I'm not that smart. I just learned that at the Bronco Offroadeo, so shameless plug again. You need to go. You need to go.
You're good, Mitch. Keep going. Keep going. There you go. Good. Stop there. So now again, right, if we were doing this in earnest, right, again, this is really our starting position. We would be taking the slack out just like this, and this is what we would go with. Okay. Now, the topic had come up earlier, what type of terrain are we on? Are we in the mud? Are we in the rocks? Right. Kind of what's the situation at hand? So all of that again is going to start to go into how much momentum do we actually need. This goes back to where the shovel comes into play.
That's right.
Right. So it can be a situation. I've seen some situations, back east in the mud, right, where traction is at a premium all the way around. And if we don't get it right the first time, then this vehicle may lose traction, right? So now we're into a situation, now we have to recover 2 vehicles, right? So what does that start to look like? So again, back to the shovel. So maybe again, at this position, we just take another moment, and let's just say that vehicle up there has already spun its tires and it's dug itself into 4 different little holes there. It's done its best imitation of a hermit crab and worked its way down in there, in the sand, possibly. Take 5 minutes, dig it out, right? Create a little path, lessen the amount of resistance, increase the odds of success to get that vehicle out, right? So that's what we're after.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think that gives us a good explanation of the toe straps. All right, so now that we've got the actual strap removed here, one thing that I've seen a lot of people use when they have like just one vehicle going off-road at the same time, I know you probably prefer to have more than one vehicle just in case something happens, but I've seen a lot of people riding around with those traction boards. What is your opinion of those?
Traction boards are phenomenal. They make self-recovery actually very easy, and or at least easier, right? And they open up a whole nother world of opportunities. So the strap that we just talked about, that's vehicle-to-vehicle recovery. As you just pointed out, what if we happen to be on our own? Or what if we're in a position to where a second vehicle just can't get to us that easily? So this is where traction boards can really play a huge role.
This is just one of the brand names. This is MaxTrax. What are some of the most common uses for this?
Common uses for it, actually, so again, we're back to self-recovery, and again, the type of terrain that we're on is many, really. I mean, so I've used them in the mud, I've used them in the sand, I've used them to actually, even though they're not really designed to be a bridging ladder, right, but maybe there's just a really small little slick rock that we just can't quite, because all the ground around it is just as slick as anything else, and we could just kind of put that there to kind of just ramp ourselves up over that rock if we need to, just to kind of build up to that rock and get over it. So there's honestly, we're only limited by the amount of them that we have, and our imagination. They are not, I guess probably the biggest thing with this is that they are not designed to be bridging ladders. And so what I mean by that is if we come across a ditch, or some sort of gully out on the trail, right? You don't want to just lay these across there and go, oh no, we're good, come on. That's not what they're designed for. Right? So.
And I've seen a couple of people when they've got a really soft material that they're wheeling in. I've seen people that didn't have the shovel you mentioned earlier. I've actually seen them use this as a faux shovel, and I thought that was genius. I was like, wow, that's really, really smart. So, not a cheap piece of gear, but one that I think is actually probably something that people need to consider. So the big things with these, is when when you only have 2, right? The question we field all the time is, well, where do I put them? Right? Do I put them in front of the front wheels, the back wheels? Where am I going to use them? Where do I put them? And the answer to that is, what do we need the vehicle to do? Right? Where do we need it to go? Right? So a lot of times, if we're just in a situation like we are now, and it's just really slick, and we maybe just kind of bog down just a little bit, well, we need to go straight ahead. Honestly, I'm going to put them behind, just in front of the rear wheels. Okay. So we would dig everything out. Dig a little bit of a channel, especially for the front wheels, to lessen the amount of resistance, on the front wheels. And the reason why I'm saying for the rear tires is that as we drive forward, if this starts to stand up or shift or move, it's not just going to unnecessarily possibly become a challenge underneath the vehicle. I never thought about that.
Just something to think about, because a lot of times if it happens, if they're under the front and we get a little bit excited with that right foot, on that accelerator, on that gas pedal, and we just spin those tires, and the surface is soft enough, and we just spin those, spin that traction board back underneath the wheel, it can then just unnecessarily, come out behind, up underneath the vehicle. So this just helps to eliminate or mitigate really kind of the opportunities or the chances of that happening. The other factor here is, again, as the driver, be smooth, be easy, right? Just real nice, smooth, easy inputs with all of the controls, right? We don't need to just pin it, right? And just hope for the best. Real smooth, let it bite, let it work, you drive yourself out of it.
Awesome.
One last thing with the traction boards really is so let's just say, when would I use them in the front? So I would use them in the front when, if we needed to, or maybe slid off the trail a little bit to the, let's just say in this case to the left, and I needed the vehicle to get back up to the right just a touch. So now is when I would put them actually in front of the front wheels. Turn that wheel to begin with, right? Get get your steering angle pointed where you want the vehicle to go. Put your boards down in front there, and then drive out.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
You've done this before.
Once or twice.
He is a professional, guys. He's proven it. He's
Stayed
not
in a
just
Holiday
talk.
Inn Express last night, so.
I love it. I love it. So what else you got for me? I just kind of want to sit here and let you run with it because this is great information.
You know, this is, I mean, there's honestly, I mean, there's so much with this. And the
How
big
many
thing
days do you have, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We're
It
going to
really
run
is.
out of memory space on the memory card.
Memory card. So the big thing with this is get to know your gear before you head out.
That's right.
You know, inventory it in the driveway. Get to know where everything is.
That's right.
You know, how it works. You know, so that way when you're out there in the field, you know, it's not the first time you've actually taken it out of the package. You
That's
go,
right.
How's this supposed to work? Right. You've actually already seen it.
Yeah.
Right. Other little tips and tricks. You know, trying to keep the recovery gear as accessible as you can in the vehicle, so you're not having to unload the vehicle, right? You know, to get to a particular piece of kit is always a good thing. One thing that I like to do with my straps is that whenever I store them, I usually keep a shackle attached to one end of it, so that way as I pull the strap out, I know I'm pretty confident that there's already a shackle to it, and at least I'm halfway there already.
Organization,
right? So just trying to think ahead a little bit. Again, you don't want to rush, but how can we be efficient?
You know, let me ask you this, and I've seen a lot of people that maybe put a lot of emphasis on getting winches. Do you think a winch is an overrated piece? Is it just too expensive? Why does not every off-road rig not have a winch?
I think some of it comes down to just cost.
Okay.
Right. You know, and then where are you going to operate? I mean, where are you going to be driving? I mean, so you know, through parts of the American West where maybe anchor points aren't going to be prevalent, then maybe a winch may not be as helpful as a good shovel, as a good set of traction boards, maybe as a high lift jack, right? Those pieces of kit might be a bit more useful than possibly a winch on the front of the vehicle. In the East, where anchor points trees are prevalent, then winches can be worth their weight in gold.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
So there's a lot of factors behind it, but usually it comes down to, honestly, to cost of the build.
There is a lot more to be learned, and that's where that Bronco Offroadeo really comes into play. And once again, Bronco Offroadeo doesn't pay me a penny to say this, but it is the best time you will ever have, and it's also educational. How nice is it to understand the dynamic, even if you are an experienced off-roader, how nice is it to be able to experience the dynamics of a Bronco before you take delivery of your Bronco?
Correct.
I mean, it's, guys, and I'll tell you, he probably doesn't want me to mention this, but I'm going to, going to anyways. So I was telling him off camera just a few minutes ago, before we started this video, I said, one thing that I've really was just blown away with on the Bronco Offroadeo is that it's not like just, all right, here's keys to a Bronco, go wheeling it. It was, you have this activity, we're doing this. You get back and you go on to the next activity, And it is so, you talk about efficiency, you have built that into that Bronco Offroadeo, and for that I'm very grateful, and I know your customers are going to be as well.
Well, thank you. We really do appreciate that. And I think really where that comes from, a lot of it is the people that the trail guides, the instructors that we have working there. They're all enthusiasts, and they're just so happy and excited to be able to share the information, share what the Bronco is, share their knowledge, their passion for off-road and for the Bronco, with everyone. You start to really see that come through.
Absolutely. So I don't care if you're an amateur or if you're an absolute veteran, you need to sign up for the Bronco Offroadeo. I'll have their website linked down below so you can register if you've got, I think you don't even have to have, you just have to have a verified order if I'm not
Correct.
mistaken. So once again, you don't have to take possession of your vehicle. You just need to have that verified order and you can go automatically. Guys, you have to absolutely check that out. So thank you very, very much for your time. You don't have to take your glove off. Thank you very, very much for your time. I appreciate you. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was a little bit of a long one, but hopefully you guys got something out of it. I know I did, and like I said, I'm in the four-wheel drive space myself all the time. Guys, I'm gonna mention it to you again. We are giving away a 4-door full-size Bronco, and we're going to announce that giveaway the day that we hit 300,000 subscribers. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, so that way you don't miss all of the great content we have coming your way, and you also don't miss that giveaway. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and have a great day. Peace.